I ran down toward them. Well, no, not running. I did not have that control. Really, I plowed the hillside like a train off its rails because I could not slow down. I had gained too much momentum. And I yelled at them, or probably bellowed like a barreling brown bear. And I yelled much, much louder than I intended to yell or bellow. I nearly tripped. My mud boots snagged in the scrub brush. A thorny branch sliced the skin on my forearms. By the time I stood over them, my beard had blown back and clung to the sweat over my shoulder. The two of them appeared more surprised than I. Afraid, fearing me. And for a moment, I was ashamed. I do not want people to cower at my size, since I was a boy they had. Though I saw that neither of them disturbed Anna's tumbas, unlike what I thought when catching them from atop the hillside through the trees. I was confused by the pair of them. I believe the girl immediately saw my confusion, and she took a defiant posture with her arms bent and her fists at her hips as if forming a wall. The man did not stop fearing me. I thought he might stumble backward into the creek when I stepped toward them, but I was surprised to see this grown man with a teenage girl on my property. I thought I might have recognized the man. He had very long hair grown past his shoulders, and he wore a blue dashiki. He was a hippie relic. But I'd never seen the girl before. She wore cut-off jeans and a bicentennial tank top. The man kept turning his head up and down the creek as if plotting his escape. I believe he didn't run away only because the girl wasn't going anywhere. The way she looked at me, very sternly, and with her fists clenched at her hips and her elbows jutting out at angles, she appeared to be protecting Anna's tumbas. As if I was the intruder. Wonderful, yeah? If anything, between the two of them, she was the one in charge. I asked, "Are you two lost?" And I was still very out of breath because I had not run in so very, very long. I tried to hide how I'd strained myself. But I wasn't ready to let my guard down, not with the man acting so curiously, like he'd done something very bad on my land, as if a dog was buried there. Very boldly, the girl said, "We're here to see Anna." The way she stared at me, she made me nervous, and I had to look away. I thought she might be one of Anna's former students. Anna had taught 5th and 6th graders years earlier. So I said, "I'm sorry," realizing that these two might actually know where they were, that they'd even been invited. So I said, "Anna left a little while ago. She just finished making her 6th tomb. That one, right there." And I pointed at one, covered in 5 bent arms, each of their 5 fingers splayed like sun rays. I had been friends with Anna's professor Hans Breda for many years in New York and then in the art department at Iowa, though I was a painter. Years earlier, when Hans said he had a promising student who wanted to do something akin to land art, I offered up my woods. I did nothing in them but take long walks to smoke marijuana. Sometimes I'd paint at the creekside, but I was not a landscape painter. Anna, on the other hand, was far more productive than I with the water, the land. She visited the creek every summer to create her works. So I've since grown fairly close to her. We at least said hello to one another, or at least hello. Some have said that even that can be too much for me. I asked this inexplicable pair before me, and how do you know Anna? The girl said, they're friends, and she pointed at this man who I still felt very uncertain about. The girl, for whatever reason, I felt certain. But the man, not so much. He mumbled, yeah, and he held the nub of an extinguished cigarette, but I noticed he wouldn't throw it onto the ground with me washing. He said he'd recently graduated from the intermediate arts program with Anna, and he mumbled something like she invited me and my little cousin to come see her work. The girl said, I'm not little. No, she was not so little, but not so old either. Likely the same age as Anna when Anna first arrived in the United States as a Cuban refugee after the revolution. She'd been brought here through a program called Pedro Pan. Yeah, like Peter Pan. That, however, sounds much more whimsical than what Anna had endured. From what I gathered, the orphanages she first lived in were inhospitable, though maybe not as bad as the racist foster parents she later lived with until her mother could meet her in Iowa in 1966. I looked at the strangers by the creek and said, oh, okay, thinking, yeah, maybe I had seen this man, though I did not know, and I asked, so you worked with Hans? And he said, exactamundo, and he pointed at me with both index fingers. I attend many of the student shows across the art department. They're always quite good, especially anyone working with Hans, but still, this man's face, I could not place it. So I asked him if we'd met. I am a professor in the painting department, I told him, but he said, I don't think so. Though he looked away and stumbled over his denial. I tried to coax more from him, saying, which pieces have you shown? Maybe I remember. And he hesitantly said, you probably wouldn't remember. And I said, please, remind me. He practically whispered, all right, well, at the thesis show, I used a Super 8 to film some of my paintings and projected the films onto the walls. I paused for a moment. These might have been the least impressive work from the spring thesis show. I remember enjoying the idea. I had never seen somebody simply film a painting hanging on the wall and then play the film in place of the painting, but the paintings were absurdly bad. Not good bad, not funny bad, or even outsider art bad. They were just simply bad. I assumed he knew he couldn't paint, so he'd resorted to this film gimmick as a way to trick the viewer into believing he'd done something interesting. So I asked, have you seen the Silhouette Canal? And changed the subject, hiding what I thought of this man's work. I said, come down the creek with me. You must see it. The girl immediately hurried to catch up with me. She walked by my side, and I peered down at the sun-pinked part in her hair. But when I looked back at the man, he did not follow. I assumed he could tell I did not think much of his work. After another bend in the creek, I was very curious. So I asked, do you like contemporary art? And very matter-of-factly, with determination, she said, I like Anna. I couldn't wait to tell this to Hans. So, with the creek rushing past our feet, I pointed down to the bubbling water. And I asked, do you see it? The canals are probably my favorite works to this day. So simple. In the shallow water, Anna built up 2 ridges of silt from the creek bottom. They rose out of the water by just a few inches. Each ridge was curved in gentle waves, just implying the shape of Anna's silhouette, while emphasizing the water's movement. The creek water slowly rippled through them, gradually eroding the ridges over days or even weeks. It was Anna returning to the earth to be reborn. So the girl got down at the water. She dipped her fingers into the stream. Then, with the authority of a woman twice her age, she said, I need to see everything.